And we're live. And we are alive. Both those two things are true.
That is true.
That is true. So, been a while, guys. Where the hell you guys been at? We'll start with Jeremy.
You know what we had Lone Wolf, right?
Where the hell you guys been at? Hang on, I gotta turn. You can see I haven't done it so long. I gotta mute a bunch of stuff.
Got the echo.
Yeah,
Unprofessional. What is this?
No, I know.
Radio. What are we doing?
I'm channeling my inner Jake Cherapika.
Well, I think it's just been busy. Editing. You know, the last couple weekends we had a holiday. We had tournaments. You know, we were out and around. You know, Alex had his event. So yeah, so I think it's just been busy, but we've had some shows come out, some more shows on the docket.
Yeah, we can touch on that. You know, what's coming out soon. Wednesday we have an episode with Nick Williams of the Northern Kings, everybody's fan favorite. Scream! Get your pitchforks out now.
Yeah.
So, and then I know we've got one with Mark Zielinski, recorded some content for us at Adepticon.
Yeah, we talk a little Adepticon, we talk a little Firefight. So that episode's coming out soon.
And in anticipation of our June 1st kickoff for our new Army Challenge, Billy and Alex have an episode coming out, right, about speed painting.
Yeah, this is kind of a high level kind of idea, approach to speed painting, which should be fun for everyone, I think.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, let's just dive in. I mean, what have you guys been working on?
Well,
who wants to go?
You go first, Alex. Yeah. You go first.
Well, I worked on those new nightmares that I had used in our last one-day event, which went well. But since then, I haven't really done a whole lot. Work kind of took over my life for the last 2 weeks. I've just been kind of staying alive, planning for the Army Challenge. We're also doing a slow grow league here starting this month. So kind of just planning out how I want to do things. I think I'm going to be crazy and completely overload myself and do orcs for the countercharge Mantic one, and then I'm still going to
Riftforge or vanilla.
Classic orcs.
Classic. I like that better. Interesting.
I was just talking with Billy about those today, about like paint scheming. So it's gonna be. I think I'm looking forward to that.
Do you know what you want to do? Do you have an idea what your scheme?
Yeah, vaguely. I've had the idea of like a really like pale, desaturated blue skin, like not Smurf blue, like kind of like a really cool ice kind of like pale blue, and just kind of go off that, work that in somehow. Yeah, and then I ordered my winged Crudra winged slasher and another war drum today for Black Knight Games. So in anticipation, so that'd be a nice 300-point month at some point in the future. I'm gonna probably start with some axe or great axe or something just to kind of get us a feel for the army. But I will still be planning
thanks for joining us, Luke.
Yeah, I can still work on my League of Rhodey in the back, but I'm not going to pressure myself too hard. We have an event. King Beyond the Wall is going to be early August. I might be TOing that. I might be playing in it. We haven't decided yet if John is going to TO that or I will. So it might be dependent on how much each of us gets of our new army painted. Yeah, but Crossroads is the definite deadline for League, I think, for me in September. So kind of try to do 2 armies at once because painting 1 army at once hasn't been hard enough.
Well, this Crossroads is important for you because it's your last year playing with the Canadian team before you play with the countercharge team next year. So say your goodbyes. You know,
we're gonna win. We gotta win it this year.
Yeah, just win it so then you can go off into the sunset, retire.
Just walk off. You know, a champion.
Well, you want to be a winner at some point in your life.
At some point, At some point. Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Jeremy? You got a whole bunch of stuff going on, right?
Yeah. So my sister came over for a hobby day last weekend. She's a cosplay, so she's been working on some of her costumes, and she introduced me. If you want to roll my footage, Rob, she introduced me to not Colombian Bam Bam or Frosty the Snowman or whatever you want to call it. She introduced me to this thing called foam clay. So it's essentially the consistency of silly putty, but a little bit more, not as stiff, more pliable. And then you mold it like anything, and then it dries like hard foam.
Okay.
So I'd always use on my multi-bases layers of cork, and then I never could quite find, well, what's the good substance to give me like nice gradients or smooth hills. And this stuff just works perfect. So I've been working on some multi-basing. I just put this stuff on the bases. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, do you have to mix it or what?
No, it's just a putty. You pull it off. It's just like silly putty.
So it's like air dry
though? It air dries. Yeah, it takes like a day and a half to dry.
All right.
And when it dries the consistency of foam, of like a harder foam. But it's the most easiest thing to work with. It fits into all the cracks, and then it just dries. And then when you're done, I just texture paint over it, and Bob's your uncle.
Cool. And it's light, right? Probably
really light, really easy to work with. You're not using any strange epoxies or right.
Tom Mannis doesn't want to share his name. Keep it on the down low.
Spy Master, Facebook user.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
I think it said from Russia too. Honestly,
yeah, Russian. You've flustered Jeremy now, Tom. He doesn't know what to go now.
So I've been loving this material. So if you want to go into the next photo, I've been working on some basing. So this is going to be one of my bases for a gargoyle troop.
Nice.
It still needs to have some work because the rocks aren't done yet. I'm going to have like a gold chalice there, but like the stone face and the pillar is done. And
is this a marble you're trying to do here, like a marble with the green?
Yeah, just like a marble stone. Just trying to add in some visual interest.
I like it's just the little blue elements to it. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to put some green, some different colors. So maybe it was painted one day long ago or whatever. Just to add some kind of a color texture. And as you can see, it's sort of the basing on the left is flat, and then it slowly rises up into that hill with the face. So that's all that putty on top of cork, giving me kind of like a natural. And then if you go to the so working on that, and if you go to the next picture.
Well, because if you had built that up just with like the AK Interactive like mud or like the Vallejo mud stuff, like that would just be like layers and layers of it, right? So
it would be crazy amount. So this way I can build like the skeleton of it, and then the texture paint, like I use the Vallejo texture paint. It's just going over that top layer.
Yeah.
So this is my neophyte horde. I've started to get a couple done. I just really love. It's the simplest thing, but I took a neophyte from one of the Shadow. What is that game called?
Underworlds.
Underworlds. She's from one of the Underworld teams, and she should be leaping over like a vase. I'm all fancy.
Vase.
She's leaping over something. So I just cut that out, and then it just happened to work where she's like leaping over that statue. So it's like a really small thing, but it's just like super fun to like try to find these little elements where you can tell a story on your base.
I find like those like the box game GW minis, they're super dynamic. Like you don't get like enough for a horde, but like to spice up a unit and add some like dynamic posing, they're really good.
They're great. They're really characterful. Exactly. Yeah. So if you're looking for like just a one-shot model to just spice things up, like just like you say, look for those. So I've been slowly starting to build that out, and then I've also been working on. This is going to be. I'm using the incubi as my impalers. Sorry. So that is this is my test for my impaler. So it's kind of like a black-blue armor with like the bone and the ivory mask. So I think
now, are these AOS models or are these 40K models?
These are dark
40K, yeah.
Okay.
So I've gone and cleaned off all of the iconography. Like sometimes they'll have like they keep like trophies of who they killed. So sometimes they have like on their little back things like Imperial Eagle or whatever. So I just clean those off. And I think once they're all on the base with the basing, I think theme-wise they're going to fit just perfect. And they're just kind of in like these sort of like, ceramic elf sort of magical material armor, So I think it's going to work really well once the complete unit is done and based. But I'm pretty happy with how I've always loved the Incubi models. I just love them, and I'm just never going to play 40K. I always had this back in my head. Oh well, and especially with the new Firefight coming out that I'm so excited about, I'm just never going to play that game. So this is like my one chance to try to use this model for something, and I think evil looking and fits the sort of Impaler vibe.
Definitely, it's like kind of like that evil otherworldly thing. It's not like not like just another dude in heavy armor with a sword. Like it looks like it's from something else. Like
like it's
because like Twilight Kin, they're kind of like they have that mix, right?
And they're from other dimensions, so maybe they got this technology from like another dimension, whatever. But I'm pretty confident it will work. And then I'm also working on this is going to be my Laphael. So I'm working on her, just starting to kind of build up the shading on her clothes, and I did a sample Raven, and I'm liking
is this
how
what range is this? Raging Heroes or what?
No, this is a 3D printed. Yeah, it's from Gods of Olympus.
The board game?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a board game. It was just like a rage. Okay. I think it was Raging Heroes. They did just like a bunch of like sort of fantasy Greek models.
Nice.
So they did like a bunch of Amazons that I'm using for my Glade Stalkers, like Amazons with bows and like double swords.
I'm a sucker for some Ravens, so this is right. I love it.
Yeah, so she's coming along pretty good. I'm happy with her. And then I just have my a horde of butchers, just so you can see like what the color, because I'm trying to keep my basing sort of like desaturated. So then that way the color pop is coming from the models. So the models are like these bright teal, bright red colors on interesting basing, but I'm trying to keep I'm not trying to put colored flowers on my bases. I'm trying to keep the color to come from the models.
The color's popping off of a desaturated base.
Exactly. Usually I try to put a bunch of flowers and tie my color scheme in through the base, but this project I'm trying with a little bit, like still creative basing with all the accoutrements and stuff like that, but trying to keep the colors a little bit more desaturated so that the colors from the models really pop. That's the plan anyway.
And you have 3 models on here.
Yeah, you're still layering.
Yeah, good on you, man. 3 models. That's a big step.
Yeah, I'm trying to go full model or PMC as much as possible. I may be a little bit under on some units just because I'm using some GW models and they're just bigger. Like there's no way I'm going to get eight of those gargoyle that what I'm using for gargoyles. I'm using like the winged Daughters of Cain. There's no way I'm going to get that many to fit on a base. So whenever possible, I'm trying to do the full model when I can, and then if not, then just as close.
I was gonna say,
awesome,
like,
dude.
I like how it's like, you have the saturated colors on the minis and like desaturated on the bases, but you're still playing with like 3 or 4 different textures and heights with the basing, right? It's not boring basing. You're just playing with different, attributes.
Like I have like my whole like my thing that I airbrush, but exactly, I'm trying in this army. All my basing in the past has been like this, right? So I'm trying to create more verticality and more interesting, like, really inspired by like Scott Holcomb and those guys who do amazing multi-basing, where it's not just a flat plane with your guys. It's this sort of natural, different textures, different eye angles. I'm trying to have different, visually interesting to look at.
Yeah, I was trying to do that with my rats, where like I create a piece of terrain and then I have them like traveling through it or around it or over, just to kind of like interact with it. Makes it a little bit more interesting.
But I calculated today I need to be finishing 1.25 models per day.
How are you doing on that?
If I will to be finished the Wednesday before Masters, as of today, I need to be finishing 1.25 models. Well, I mean, I have lots of stuff at various things. So, I mean, by the end of the weekend, I'm finishing 4 or 5 things, Right now, it feels worse than it is, but it's like I have 10 things all 40% done.
Yeah, so you need to have all those 10 things done by the end of the week.
Exactly. And then I'm still looking to take that July sabbatical from work to just
hardcore, man. Whole month off, man.
That's amazing.
So I'll have plenty of time to finish it. I've really been trying really hard on this army, like really pushing myself to, for me to try to push it up, the hobby up to the next level for me, you know.
It looks incredible.
So I'm happy so far. Thank you so much.
I like the red and the teal really match.
Yeah, I love seeing like color combos that I wouldn't think of, and be like, yeah, that works. You're like, I just would never have chosen it myself, and I'm like, oh.
So I think that like you guys think like the black, red, teal, ivory, like that's in the gold. That's like an interesting color combination. You guys are liking it so far.
It's creates visual interest.
Yeah, and like I'm just trying.
You had me at 3 models, dude. Honestly, you have 3 models on here. I mean, I'm like,
I say this with Margaret because she's like a color nerd, because it's like she's an artist, and it's like she has this like knack for picking expensive, like the colors that look expensive, you know, that like, and like these look interesting and like expensive. It's good.
And no non-metallic metal. So the goal for this army is to really work on my blends and my transitions. So I didn't want to worry about also trying to learn non-metal metallic. So this one, I'm like the snake bodies. I spent a long time really trying to create this like smooth blending, but it's a work in progress. But
they look
awesome.
So we'll see. I think it's a fun army to play. I've been doing pretty well with it as far as in my practice games. So I think I mean, you know, you never know at Masters, but 4-2. I'm hoping maybe 5-1, something like that. It's a solid. It's a solid.
That's a tall. That's a.
Well, that's what you did last year,
right? New York Masters. My best Masters I've ever done was when I went 4-2. So hopefully in that, because I think if I can do 4-2, somewhere in there, hopefully I can get top 10 Paragon, because that's my goal this year. That would be 3 years in a row at Masters I was in top 10 for Paragon. So that's like my goal this year. So I'm hoping that this list should hopefully get me there, but we'll see. You never know.
My goal for you is top 3 Paragon. Just saying.
Well, I mean, that's my pie in the high goal is the podium.
Pie in the high.
Pie
in the sky, pie in the high. I've been snorting too much of that
pie of edibles. Just like it's just edibles.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, just get me. But yeah, and you guys have been great. You know, we've been sharing pictures in our host chat. You know, that would be one thing. If you're not in a chat with your buddies who you game with, get in a chat with them, because it's just such a great to keep you motivated in between tournaments, right?
It's because it's fun. It's like it keeps you motivated once you get things going, and like you make some progress pics, you share them, and then it motivates everyone else in the group too, right? And then you kind of get that like, you know, symbiosis.
And we're blessed because you mentioned Billy, and Britain's another one of them.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people in our hobby who are great hobbyists, but they're also really giving of their time. Yes. Austin Kerrigan is another one like that, you know, where you can send pictures and be like, what do I do? And they're like, do this. And you're like, okay.
Well, yeah, Ryan Smith has been really active in the After Dark Discord chat lately. Like, just like,
I can't wait. June 1st
awesome.
hits. I'm going to be on it like 3 days a week.
Yeah,
I'm awesome. All in.
We've been having
a lot of great. Yeah, After Dark has been popping for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my end, it's mostly been like stalling, because I obviously we got June 1st start a new army. So I've been doing like a lot of like, I need to get this model painted or this model painted or paint an army for Middle Earth, or everybody tells me that Kuzlo is the bee's knees. So I don't know if I'll zoom in. So I threw some paint on him over the week. Yeah, he's all right. But the cool part is, you know, everybody says he's great. I wish, in retrospect, this is the old style goblin, right? So big long nose. I wish he was separate rider and I could put a different guy on him.
Oh, it's all one
piece. Is it all one piece?
It's all one piece. Well, is it or is it? No, I mean he's attached to the body.
Yeah.
But like the tail and some of the legs are separate.
But so you couldn't do like a conversion where you put
it's really hard to convert. And like even like the waist is really hard to
well, yeah, the neck he has that cowl.
His
thing.
Fur.
Yeah,
he's got like a fur thing around his neck too. So
that's a drag.
Really difficult, but
yeah,
you know, at the end of the day, I got one game in with them against Billy's dwarves, and not a very good example because Billy's got like 800 shots a turn.
Oh yeah, that's the Packmaster army, right?
Yeah, so he's got all the dogs, and then he's got like three Packmasters, I think.
Yeah.
And they're all shooting like 10 dogs or 8 dogs a turn. So, he squeaked one out on me. So I think we went to turn 6. He won on turn 6. It was turn 7. I have a chance to fight back a little bit. But I don't know. Kuzlo is great. I mean, the -1 is awesome, but he bit me in the ass in the game because you got to make sure he's away from your own stuff. So, so that's what I've been doing. Like I have all my ogres for the tournament coming up this weekend in Kansas City over to the side. I'm just going to go through them this week and I'm going to look. Oh, here's one was broken. Let's touch some paint up here. Just try to I haven't got my display board out and touched it up. I haven't put paint on that display board in the last time I painted anything on it was with Brian Bordier, and we were at Living Legends a few years ago. But it got to be 2.5 years, 3 years since the last time. So it's nice to just kind of get up and put a fresh coat on things, and then I get to put it away. I've got KCGT, Bug Eater, and then that's it for the ogres. I don't want to see them anymore. It's not that I don't enjoy playing them. Well, I'm bored. Is the best way to say it. I've done what I can do.
You gonna bring the half men back?
No, I'm gonna go all in on Sally. So we'll
okay.
Salamanders will be the army that I'll be playing. I don't know how yet though. I'm still.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Friday. Honestly, I pick up Dylan Scribner, who's arguably the best Salamander player in the country. I mean, he's always top 5 in the South, and then Andrew Atkins, the Mountain. So we'll probably be brainstorming a new list for me. The only epiphany I did have is we talked about this. What do I use for Ember Sprites? And I went and bought some from Puppets Wars, but I have a better idea. I'm going to use Crocodogs because they're little. I don't know yet if I'm going to put little they're shooting flames yet. I'm not sure of that, but because I'm really going to go 100% Mantic if I can. So
nice.
That's awesome. Little fire breathing.
Little dragon.
That's hilarious. That's
they're the right height for it. It's good. It's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good fit.
I will. We got a little time. I'll go ahead and share this too. I'll share the my list. It's not quite as bad as everybody has been bitching about. So we'll go with this. Let's see if I can zoom in here. All right. Let's see if I can.
Now, is this for Bug Eater?
This is 2,300, so this is KCGT. Bug Eater's gonna be 2,150, so it's 150 points less.
Okay. When is KCGT? Is that your next thing?
This Friday.
Okay.
Friday.
Oh, yep. Cool.
Yep. And then Bug Eater is June 3rd and 4th and 5th. I don't know. So, and we're gonna talk about tournaments in a little bit. But yeah, Red Goblin Scouts, only 4 hordes of ogres, Siegebreakers, 1 horde of warriors.
Going soft on us, Rob.
Very much so, and there's a couple times during my game against Billy on Saturday where I'm realize why I hate ogre warriors. They just don't punch as hard, right?
Yeah.
And then the mammoth with the big deal. 2 warlocks, both with Drain Life, but one with Scorched Earth and the Conjure Staff. This is one that I don't know, man. This guy down here is probably the guy that gets the boot for another bully if I arrange some things. And then
have you had any luck with that Scorched Earth spell? I have yet to.
Well, I have now that I gave him the Conjurer Staff.
Yeah,
because it's two. It's 2 dice, right? But you can reroll 1.
Isn't it? Isn't it a legendary? You can't use.
It's not a legendary.
It is not one of the.
Okay.
It is not one of the legendary spells.
Well, then perfect. You take the Conjure Staff with it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's one of the only new spells that you can do that with. I think there's one other one. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah,
I did it then.
But to your point, it's funny because I don't it's situational. Well, do I do that, or do I hit you with Drain Life 8? Right? It's a really tough decision sometimes. If I've got a beat up horde, I'm I'd rather hit you with Drain Life 8, right? But
yeah, it's range 18, so it's got it's a 1 turn in advance before it's kind of
sure, for sure. Plus, it's great if somebody's coming 1-on-1 with Siegebreakers, but they're they've been getting Brewer Sharpness or they're just take the edge off a little bit.
It's kind of I kind of think of it like plague pots for rats, right? Because it's you get to pick where it goes.
Exactly. I mean, against me, it's been used very efficiently. People, put it on the mammoth. You want to make the mammoth inefficient? Make him hit on 5s. That's how you ruin his day. And then I've got the Berserker Bully, Kuzlo and Madfall, and then Namagrok. So I really, threw it together. I played one game. I got beat, so probably means I'm gonna have a shitty weekend. But this guy might get the boot, or he might be the reduction. That's most of the reduction points for Buggier. Just the second drain life guy. He just, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the lightning bolt 6 is nice, right? But like, drain life, you got to get them way up there for that. So I don't know. It's probably points good.
And I think most people are. I know I've seen it a lot in my games. Most people are taking the Spell Ward banner pretty much. I don't know if Alex has been seeing that in his neck of the woods, but I've been seeing a lot of people take that.
That makes a
huge difference.
I took it a lot in my Northern Alliance lists on UB. I haven't seen it a lot in games around here, but I also have only really been playing in the one-day tournaments so far this year. I haven't had a lot of like Friday night games, which are usually a little bit more, tougher lists. People trying to refine stuff. So,
well, I figure now that we kind of touched a little bit on what we've been up to and stuff, I figure let's talk about a topic that is of interest to me, which is, what do you look for in a tournament? What makes you, want to go to a tournament? What makes a tournament stand out? What makes it the tournament, that you just have to go to? And I don't know, when do you guys want to start? Like, what attracts you to a tournament? Ooh, it's a good one. Alex wheels turning. By the way, we didn't tell him in advance because we didn't want to have him like Trudeau it up with a piece of paper and like read it off the teleprompter,
Yeah. No, I'm fast and loose and out of control. I think for me, it's an interesting question for like you and I. We run our own tournaments and we travel. So it's like I like my tournament. I'll say why I picked the venue that I chose for mine, and then kind of because I based it on a bunch of the Northeast tournaments that we go to around here. Like it's like a chill environment. We use a Veterans Association, so it's like it's big, it's open space, it's got a bar, but it's like casual. We have our own space, but it's not like crowded. Lots of room for gaming after in the evenings. I think that Friday and Saturday night hangouts are pretty key. So I think a lot of times, a venue where you can stay with, leave the armies set up, have room for board games and drinking on Friday and Saturday night. I think that's a really big bonus. It helps a lot because it's funny because like during the day when you're playing 2 games, the socializing is very different, right? Like you're really hyper focused on the games. You talk to like 3 or 4 people and then maybe a few people at lunch and that's it. And then at the end of the day, that's when the actual socializing happens. So I think outside of gaming, like a huge value of tournaments is just hanging out with everybody. And that happens Friday and Saturday night. So I think that's an important part. You need a venue where you can do that, or at least a tournament that has a space to do that after you leave the venue.
Yeah, that's a big one. The hangout, and that kind of kind of coincides with when I'm thinking about a tournament. I'm thinking about like, well, who's going? Is it a group of people that I like, or that or is it a group of people that I've never met before? So I'm excited to meet new people. So is the cauldron or the melting pot of players? Does it sound like something that would be fun and interesting? Also, I love the TOs who are really on top and plan their events. Like I know Texas Hold'em aside, I know if I go to a Mark Cox event, it's going to be run up to a certain standard. There's going to be, emails ahead of time. I know that it's going to be run logistically really well. That I think that's an element to it. I think that I love that we have different types of tournaments. I kind of imagine our tournaments, you have more of the sort of, I guess, masters qualifiers, right? Or more kind of 40 plus, or the kind of the big events. And then you have maybe the smaller like boutique events. Like I think of, they just had Vanguard.
Vanguard GT. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And like how we do Riddle of Steel on the West Coast, of having a more flavorful event held at a unique venue. Bay of Kings this year is going to be at a boathouse at like a yacht club. So right on the ocean, So I think sort of thinking about the theme and venue, and if I see that it makes sense to me, I know the TO has put thought and energy into it, and tournaments with people who are run by the people who've actually put time and energy into it, those tournaments usually are run well. So sometimes you can kind of tell, I don't know what you guys think, when I'm going to a tournament based on how organized it feels. Sometimes I can kind of judge like how the tournament is going to go based on some of the pre-work. So I think it's nice to go to events, and I just love that there's a difference, because if we went to the same style tournament 5 times a year, it would be boring. So I'm glad that there are different. So that affects me. I don't like to do, sometimes it's nice to do a more hardcore event followed by a narrative event followed by a hardcore, mix up my tournament schedule so I'm not going to the same type of event back to back.
Yeah, because it's a good point. Like you have like the ones that have a bit more soft score focus and a bit more battle focus, and like you said, like different crowds, different scenes. Like if a lot of places in North America, you have access to multiple regions, right? Because some of them are pretty close together, so you don't have to, and different regions have kind of different flavors to their events.
And I think that's why Masters is such a great experience. Masters is the event that I want to go to because it's the one event in the year that I can see everyone from the whole country. Lone Wolf is great. Lone Wolf, as far as a competitive event, it's like Masters Light. So Lone Wolf is a good testing ground if you want to take. It has some kind of wonky scenarios, but you're still going to play against a really high level caliber of player. And then, like you said, you have Vanguard or I know they're still doing it, but when Rob was running Blue City Brawl, the team event, Jeff does Living Legends. There's all sorts of different. I'm curious, Rob, when you go to an event, can you take your TO hat off and just enjoy? Are you always sort of like, well,
I'm always like, it's like when you go to, I don't know, I'm trying to give a good example, but like you're there and obviously you're critiquing what you would have done differently, right? You're always doing that. Like it's just, unless you get inebriated to the point where it doesn't matter at that point, right? I guess there's that, but a lot of what you said would just resonated. I think ultimately there was a long time ago, in a Warhammer days, a good friend of mine told me, you run the event you'd want to attend, right? At the end of the day, that's the type of event you run. And so I know what I end up finding are the events that I attend they have a lot of similarity to the ones that I would run, which is, I wanted to be well organized. I wanted to, first class, right? So, which is maybe why I don't go to a lot of first year events. I don't like travel. I'm not traveling 20 hours, 10 hours to go to the first year event. But like in the case of Kansas GT, it survived to year 2. And so now we're going to hit it. We're going to hit it in year 2. What about this? No, go ahead.
I was just going to say reciprocity is a big thing for me too.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys feel like that? Like sometimes it's about paying back the people that have paid you.
Like we went to refugees of the. Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say we went to refugees of the. Go for it.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say before I was so rudely interrupted, was that like we went to Refugees of the Old World this last year because Ben had come down for Bay of Kings. Ben had really traveled, so it was like one of those things where you want to pay that back, especially when you're a TO or you're part of a group. Is that trying to get people like Rashad and I were like this for a long time when the West was like really. There was nothing. It was like Rashad, me, Britton, and Scott Holcomb, and Mike Grant, like hardly anything. We were just out there trying to be nice, being like, oh, you guys got to come to Riddle of Steel. It's going to be great. It's so much fun. And then eventually the pay it forward attitude is a real commodity. And I think you will get that,
Absolutely. I think because the year before I did King Beyond the Wall, we had done Crossroads, we did Unplugged GT, we did Orktown, and then everyone came. Well, like people from each of those regions or areas came Beyond the Wall, and it's like it's about building relationships. Like you go to those tournaments because you want to hang out with those people, and they come to your tournaments because they want to hang out with you and your crew, and that's what it's all about. It's about connecting. So it's like it's all about connecting. You can't just plant your flag and just say, "Come here, come here, come here."
You got to give them a reason to come, right?
Mm-hmm.
A side note, one story I forgot. Go ahead. One story I forgot to share. I was at Lowe's on Saturday, and I had my trusty Pizza Jesus shirt. My Pizza Jesus shirt on, right? And so I was turned around to the cash register, reaching out, and then I turned back around. He goes, what did that say? Let me check it out. And so I turned around and he read it, and I said, dude, it's Pizza Jesus. And he just, the reaction I got from that guy was amazing. It was just like, right on. You know what I mean? It just, if you don't remember it, guys, the Pizza Jesus shirts, the link is still on our page. It's also on Dash 28. Make someone smile, wear a Pizza Jesus shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, sorry.
Yeah, it's always funny when you see people and they're like, "Oh, what are you into?" I never know, like when I'm telling someone about the hobby, like how deep do I go? Being like, "Oh, it's a tabletop game." Well, what is? Some people don't even know what tabletop gaming is, let alone. So I'm always like, I never know how deep down the rabbit hole to go when I'm trying to describe miniature wargaming. But
yeah. Did I knock him off the stream? Or did he knock himself off the stream? Add the stream.
Well,
I don't know.
So
Canada. Phil Collins wanted to know what's up with Matt. Matt's been under the weather for the last couple of weeks. So we hopefully will have him back shortly because we missed the Aussie.
And a new baby, that's
and
always
a new baby. Yep.
A lot on his plate right now, but we love him. So
I'm just gonna say koalas carry syphilis, and Matt likes to get around. So
is that true?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, if you said it, it's got to be true, right?
It's got to be true. I said it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Canadians don't lie. No. It's funny. We talk about what attracts us to a tournament. Is there anything that like turns you off from a tournament? Like you're like, this is kind of like and I'll throw one out there that
Ranked
can be
sports scores.
Well, just the scoring. The scoring metrics can be
how it's scored definitely affects it. And I like a personal pet peeve of mine is, and it is ranked sports score because I just think it really
1 to 5, 1 to 5
in a community where I can count on one hand the number of bad games I've witnessed in probably 10 tournaments or 7 tournaments. I don't think that works. So yeah.
Check box paint scoring bugs me.
Who's that?
Check box paint scoring.
So very objective. Well, so this is the tricky part though with artistic thing is that, it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? In the sense that you either have like an objective scoring system that's accessible to normal people, like normal humans, right? And that there's some kind of, this is what you do to get this score. The flip side is I also hear the argument, well, art is subjective, not objective, right? Like it's but then you're also at the mercy of, the paint judge. And,
I feel like a little bit of both works well, but that, that's a tough balance too, right?
But like, yeah, I mean, Vanguard GT this weekend did something different. I didn't see the actual the packets, and I would be interested to see, but they actually had 3 paint scores. That appearance paint, which I assume is just the way paint was applied. Appearance composition. I'm not sure what that means. Is that I'm not sure what that means. And then maybe I can look here in a minute. And then appearance general effect. So, that's I don't know. That might be too obtuse.
Yeah. I'm all for rubrics. The issue I have with checkbox scoring is, let's say I don't want to convert a model. Let's say my models are amazing and I love them, and I don't convert, so I lose the points for that checkbox. Let's say someone does a really crappy freehand job, and
they get a checkbox,
and my army's better painted than that, but they're getting the points for the freehand
checkbox. We've had that argument here, and well, not argument, but discussion, because we were trying to figure out the best way to score paint here, like everyone else. And I think a little bit of both, but like we're thinking going for King Beyond the Wall. John McCready came up with good ones, like buckets, objective buckets, coherent paint scheme, basic stuff, and like, basing. And then the top 3 awards are going to be purely like judge discretion, and then it'll be 21 points for first place, 19 for second place, and 17 for third place, and then everything else is going to be buckets, 15-point bucket, 13-point bucket kind of thing. Just because,
like you said, there's no perfect way to do it, right? And we're all trying to figure out like what the best way. Because I think I'd like to move on beyond the argument of are soft scores good, and we can say yes, they are good, but then now we're discovering, well, how do we implement them? I think I'd like to think that that's where we're at as the communities, that we've all somewhat agreed that soft scores are, for the longevity of the hobby, good. So it's like
sports is a little trickier, because you're like, well, do you reward someone who's like super gregarious and hilarious as a better gamer?
Historically, that's what you would reward.
Yeah,
right?
but should it be like, did he show up on time, prepared, play a clean game, polite,
didn't cheat.
And then if you want to have favorite opponent award separate from the points, because like I don't think it just feels weird when the same 5 people get 5 points up on everyone else because they're funnier or they're louder.
So I do like the sports idea of,
or not Canadian.
Yeah. Were they on time? Were they clean? Did they play? Did they state their intention? Did you solve any disagreements in a cordial way? I think those are all great elements. Well, I mean, that's you asked for another reason, is I think sometimes, like, if I just finished an amazing hobby army, I'm going to want to go to Alamo because that's Ryan's tournament. He, in my opinion, is one of the best paint judges in the country. So, and I like how Ryan does it in trying to think about like all the armies listed. It's not like Army 1 gets 1 point or 2 points or whatever, but still putting a ranking in all the armies here in this tournament. Here's the best painted army all the way down, like having an idea.
Number 65.
Yeah, of ranking, and it's not scoring like how they did the Northeast Masters, but still in his mind, he has an idea of putting people into these basic categories. Like the first run is tabletop or above tabletop or like paint award, putting them, all the armies in these sort of sub brackets and then going back. And
so, in terms of painting, I'm kind of leading towards like, as it contributes to overall, make it objective, make it a checklist. But for the painting piece of it, like that's where go wild, go subjective, go whatever you want to, because I don't know. I mean, speaking from a TO's hat, right? It's hard. It's super hard to do paint scoring. And look, the one thing you can guarantee, everybody's going to be pissed off at you because you didn't, everybody is a legend in their own mind, and they're like, "Oh my god, my stuff is great." Well, it is very good.
So you would want let's say like 90% of the amount of paint points that go towards overall should be achievable by everyone. Is that what you're thinking? Or are you thinking 100%?
No, I don't know. I don't know if it's there's a couple ways you can do that, right? You could do what you just said. And also I've seen where they have cap scoring where there's 50 points available, but only 30 can contribute to overall. And there's different, because the other thing I don't like about the objective checkboxes is that you're putting in your own preferences when you write it. You said it best. Like, what if I don't like OSL? I should be punished because I went to an event one time where I won't say any names, but the TO basically called out this person and said, "You would have won best paint if you would have had a banner in your army." I'm like, oh god, it didn't go over well, right? No. So,
I think for King Beyond the Wall last year we did check boxes, but each checkbox had like 2 or 3 points available within it. So it's like,
it's objective, but there's subjective wiggle room inside the box.
Like to your point about freehand, like you could get the freehand point, but if you did shitty freehand, you're getting 1 point, and if you did excellent, it'd be 2, and if it was like what, it's 3, and then that kind of you get a little more granularity, and you get a little bit of quantitative subjectivity.
Yeah, and that's that. I'm saying this, at least I think last year that's how we ran Kings of Memphis. There was a checklist. And
And if that's the case, just get it to me ahead of time. Let me know
months in
we
advance.
do. Guys, we put it in the pack. We're like, here,
immediately.
Here's what it is, man.
There's nothing worse than going to an event, and I've heard something as well that was probably similar to where it was like, oh man, your army was great, but needed a display board, and it was like, well, I thought display boards weren't being counted for your paint judge. So it's just you want to, if you're competing, you just wanted to know what are the rules. And granted, subjective is subjective. What bugs me the most about painting is not when I get a score that's lower than what I think or whatever. It's when something was scored that I had no idea, or when things don't when things don't match up.
Yeah.
When it's like, this is my score, and an army that, let's say, scores normally better than me all the time is now lower than me, or vice versa. That's like not right. And I've had it both ways, of where my army gets more paint than someone's army that beats me all the time, and I'm like, dude, that's whack. That's stupid. And then I've been on the other end of that too, which is like, that person never scores higher than whatever. But in the end, you get upset for like an hour. I've tried to just, for an hour after a tournament, let it circulate, and then you just got to move on, because like you say, it's so hard. And Rob knows, like, to judge paint is so tough that I try to be really kind to TOs. Even if I don't say anything.
I harbor a grudge.
Yeah, you want it to be as consistent as possible. And like, you see someone, you see like there's like a 2 or 3 point variance, and you're like, that is not that, or like 2 or 3 places above, and you're like, that doesn't match. But to Rob's point, and just like, it is stressful and time consuming to do paint judging. And to do it well. So I think
totally hard, right?
I'll give you an example. That ogre army I have, I've taken it to lots of events. I mean, because I've been playing since 2016, right? Off and on. It has had shitty paint scores. It's had top tier paint scores and everything in between, right? And the reality is, it's better than tabletop, but it's probably what does it deserve? I don't know. It deserves, I guess, whatever it gets on the day, right?
And that's that's what it's going to get. It's going to get whatever score the judge decides it gets.
Yeah, the lighting in the room is going to matter. The judge's preferences are going to matter. What other armies are in the room? What armies are beside it? All those things matter.
Oh, totally. So you just try to do the best, and just try to like. I just try to make each project better than the project previously.
Yeah.
And then other than that, you kind of have to like. So where are you guys at for tournaments? I tend to like, when I'm looking at tournaments, I like either the 50 battle 25-25 or 60-20-20. Where are you guys at as far as when you're picking tournaments, how they calculate overall? Where are you at as far as like the percentages should be?
I think usually around here, it's like the 5 games, and then like paint and sports are worth about a game.
Okay.
So then it'd be like a 7-game tournament total points. And then I think last year for King Beyond the Wall, we had paint up to 30 points. And that's kind of like in the Northeast anyway, like 30. I think that's about outside of Unplugged GT, which does like a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Yeah, they do the true third, 33, 33, 33.
Yeah. I've been all over the place here, but I will say Kings of Memphis is intentionally more about general than I normally historically would do. It's actually almost 70% battle.
Oh wow, that's a lot for
right. And then it's basically, I don't know, 30 points and 30 points. But here's the thing, like, sportsmanship is not a winner. You don't win the event because you won sports, because we don't do best opponents. We just do what you did on the table. So as long as you're not a dick, you're gonna max out sporting contribution to overall, which that's something it took me a long time to get to do that. But now that I'm there, I'm never going back. Just because it's like, I want to judge you on what you're in control of.
So then how do you do the sports awards then? Are they done?
So we have after each game, you did this person show up on time? The basic questions, right? That goes towards your overall score. Then we have a separate award called Best Sport, which is favorite opponent votes, but does not in any way affect overall.
See, I think that's the way to go, because you're rewarding people to just be good humans and not try to act like or bring people free stuff or whatever, and still have an award for people who do provide that, but let someone who can still get max points, by just being a solid dude.
Yeah. After you shared your Kings of Memphis pack last year, I was like, I am taking that. We modified it very slightly, but it's
so
just,
we're out of 100. We're out of 190 points, and then 130 of which are battle points and or bonus objectives. Okay, on the table. Then there's 30 points available in paint and 30 points from sportsmanship. But those 30 points are basically there's 6 points per game, right? You know, did you and I'm trying something different this year. I'm basically, if people aren't finishing their games, you eventually are going to start losing points. So, like, was your opponent properly prepared and arrived on time? And did you have all the stuff? 2 points, right? Was a chess clock used during the game? 1 point. You don't have to do it, but it's going to cost you 5 points during the tournament if you don't want to.
I love it. I like it.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I am so irritated about is if you don't, I don't want to tell you have to use a chess clock, but I'm incentivizing it because 5 points.
And I think,
I am going to check that. I'm not the bullshit where like you filled it out instead of using. No, if I don't see you using a chess clock, you're not getting the point.
Yeah, because there's always the people like, oh, it's okay. Neither one of us wants to. But then it's like,
check the box.
You're 20 minutes into lunch.
Yeah. Oh,
as a TO.
Fast. I play fast. Don't worry.
And it's like, I want to get the scores in, and I want to eat my lunch.
Yeah.
So get the scores in.
And then another big one is this is another one new for me this year. All required games turns completed. Play the game. Like nothing I hate worse than like you get to like where one person only gets 5 turns and one gets 6 or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then obviously, would you willingly play this person again? That's probably the only one that's it can be you might butt heads with somebody, right? And it might not get along, but still it's 1 point, And so what typically happens on those scores is you have a lot of people who are close to the top.
Yeah.
Anywhere between like 25 and 30, right? And that's okay. People said, well, where's the separation? I don't know that you need to have separation for sports scores. If everybody's being a cool dude,
I agree.
Cool lady, your
goal should be everyone gets max sports scores.
Yeah, I find the where's the separation argument ridiculous, and because it's just like no, everyone in the community is generally a good person, and everyone's having a good time. There's no better. It's like everyone had a good time. Everyone had a good game. That's fine.
So if someone says no to the last question, Rob, are you going and
I'm asking them what happened.
You're asking
usually just trying what happened. I mean, it's not really, that's not in my mind a bad game vote.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. But like it's an indication what happened. All right.
Yeah.
And if they tell me their story and we talk a little bit, maybe I'll follow up with that opponent, like not talking to them about it, but I might pay attention to their next game and see if it's a recurring theme, right?
Yeah, if like 3 or 4 of their games they lose a point on 3 or 4 of their games for that, then it's maybe an issue.
Yeah, and I used to have the one in here. Would you play this army again? But since I play douchebag lists now, I can't have that.
He got rid of that one.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, at the end of the day, if it's legal, it's legal. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna whine.
Absolutely.
It is what it is.
And I'm happy to play those type of lists when they're piloted by a nice person who gives me a good game.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem playing the Jeff O'Neill or Keith Randall's or any of those style lists. If you're a nice person and you're a good sport and we have a good game, my challenge is to try to figure out a way to beat you, and I'm going to do my best to do that. It's really only a pain when you play those lists when they're also a D-bag. So,
well, the problem is most of the time when there's issues, it's where you're playing someone that has that list that doesn't really know how to play the list.
Yeah, they're taking it because they saw someone do well with it, and they think it's a power list, and they're like, "I'm bringing it to this tournament, and I'm going to do well."
Sloppy, and they're not playing it the right way, and it's just like really.
They think it's going to pilot itself, and then it's a difficult game, and they get frustrated and take it out on you.
So thinking back about this, I mean, it sounds like we spent a lot of time talking about the scoring metrics. Yeah. So I guess that sounds like that might be the most important thing. How
location, right? Location.
Location's important too. Yeah.
Is it at a hotel? And also too, for me, since Hillary comes with me sometimes, is it a city that has good food or that we've never been to? Are there something fun to go do like during like to stay a day early or a day after? Going to a tournament, like Mark Hawks and I were talking about how, Wednesday's the new Thursday, go to a tournament on a Wednesday, because it used to always be go to tournament on Thursday and then have the food and do the hangouts and do all. So I think the city or the the food or the culture of a place can make you want to do a tournament.
Yeah. Well, I think like the game is good. We know like if we're gonna have 5 good games generally at a tournament with like good community, good game. So it's just the stuff around it, and that's always going to be different. Like where you're going, how it's going to be scored, if there's going to be special scenarios. Like I know, like some people, they have the special characters. Like those are fun. Like I think we want to kind of run something like that up here, just to like. I don't think in the Northeast we have a tournament where you get to build your own hero kind of thing, or have a the Lone Ranger kind of guy, stuff like that.
Or have Conan kill your whole army. Thank you, Jeff Salon. So
it's a story. Though.
Yeah, it's a topic that does. I think the things you decide to put in your rubric, in your pack, and where you're having it, everything's important. But here's the one thing that I don't give 2 shits about. I'm gonna be brutally honest here. I don't give a shit how much prize support you have. In fact, if you want me to not come, start bragging about how much prize support you have, because that's just not me. I have all the stuff I need. I have models. I
want like stuff from the tournament, like a drinking glass.
Yeah, there's like cool dice or something.
Swag. Yeah.
But like, hey, I have $3,000 worth of Mantic product. Man, I have Mantic product. I don't
have a cheaper tournament.
Have a cheaper tournament. Yes. Bring the price down. Because ultimately we've been talking about that behind the scenes too. Like some of these tournaments are starting to get really expensive, and you're like, okay,
and especially with travel costs going up. I mean, we had to drop from Kings of Memphis. Really sad, just because it's just so expensive. And also, too, I want to say, not only about what makes you want to go to a tournament. I think a tournament can be a fun thing for no matter where you are on your journey, whether you're a new player, an old player, not a great hobbyist, a great hobbyist. That's one thing I really love about Kings of War as a game, the style of game that it is. I think anyone can go to a tournament and have a great time, no matter where you're at in your journey.
Yeah. It's just a great way to like immerse yourself in the game for a weekend. Like that's all it is. Like just dive in and live Kings of War for 2.5 days. And it's just like, and then you always get that post GT buzz, right? Like
adrenaline rush.
You are reinvigorated. So for hobby, like there's the 2 weeks leading up to the tournament where you're in a panic mode, and then afterwards you just
100%, Mark. You're absolutely right. Like,
Mark, he's exactly right.
Yeah, if you're gonna have prizes, just raffle them off.
Yeah. You just, and make sure you get like a multiple of the number of people. So like if you have 30 people, have 60 pieces of to raffle off. So
and
you don't
give off. I also like it if you're not gonna raffle it off. I've just seen it where they start at the bottom and work the way
in reverse order.
Yeah. Like, okay, well the big booby prize is going to go to the person that took the beatings this weekend.
Exactly.
Because the people winning are getting a trophy or a plaque, and they're the people who probably already have all the shit anyway. Exactly. So it's like they don't need another box of whatever.
That's exactly true.
But we need to mention Vanguard GT results. Number 1, huge congratulations to Mr. Ray Shields.
Captain Canada.
Captain Canada
couldn't go to a nicer
waving
guy.
the flag. I'm so happy for him.
With his Trident Realm, which I think he's been working on that army, like playing that for years, like since the pandemic started.
And how about Jake Cherapika taking the both favorite opponent and countercharger?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's on the wrong podcast. But maybe not.
When you're completely mediocre, you don't really piss anyone off, because you're just right in the middle.
Usually that's the hard part, right? Either like you're at the bottom and they feel bad for you, right? Or you're at the top and you've lost a tough couple games and they feel bad for you. But like in the middle, no one feels bad for you. You're kind of just, I don't know. Interesting. Best appearance, Bart Kohler, the amazing Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that army looks great.
Best general, Alex Chavez. No surprise there. Best club, Aristocrats. The one that I want to point out is my home region, Michelle Jones. Woo woo. She has a really cool 3D printed army with.
Is that the Elf Army? Or the Sylvankin?
Yeah, it's got lights, and more lights.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's a nice looking army.
Amazing. Yeah,
for sure.
So Michelle, well deserved. And hoping we're gonna get Michelle to Kings of Memphis at some point. Fingers crossed. So, well, guys, we're at time.
Okay.
Is there anything we didn't touch on? It was great chat. At the end of the day, there's not a right or wrong answer. We all have different opinions on.
Go to tournaments. That's
go to tournaments.
I feel like out of all the ones we prefer, little things about, they're all.
I like
good.
this. So, Mark, you don't go to tournaments, so
they don't have 500-point tournaments, Mark.
No, they don't.
One day.
20 games.
Well, I mean, he doesn't go to the tournaments in his backyard, you know, at recess. So
I'm waiting for the one-day tournament that you got to play 17, 500. You got to play a 500-point game with every faction.
Every 20 minutes.
You know, there used to be a tournament. There used to be a tournament called like the Generals Challenge.
Yeah.
And it was in a dude's basement, and you would show up, and all the armies were pre-made, and you had to play all the armies.
Mark shows up there, and he's all like hunched over with a cane, walking, and then he rips his shirt off, and he's like 10-pack, like all buff with like tattoos, and he's just like.
I've been training my whole life for this.
All the different 500-point armies, you know, it's just like his hair starts regrowing, and he's got like Conan mane of hair. You know,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, guys. Hell of a show. Been fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
We're gonna start making this a regular thing. We found Sundays are rough because there's usually tournaments.
Yeah.
Our family stuff.
Family stuff's coming up. I've been under the weather. Just a heads up. I've actually got to get. You guys are laughing when I say this. I've got to get a deviated septum fixed, which is I'm almost 50 years old, but I've been waiting because you know what they told me. They said, look, if you get if your nose breaks again, you have to get it refixed. So I think at this point in my life, I'm safe. I'm probably not going to break my nose again.
No wonder when you saw that foam clay, you were like, "Is that drugs?" It's from all you. It's
that's right.
Septum.
Exactly.
Too much cocaine, Rob.
That's it.
Columbia
but anyways, everybody, that's been a lot of fun. We'll try to make this a routine thing.
Yeah.
And if you guys have got some interesting topics for us to chat about,
get Firefight. Everyone buy Firefight.
I did. Did you guys all pre-order? I pre-ordered the GCPS starter, and then like the rule book and the chit thing. I don't know.
I got the launch bundle and
that's
the Assyrian Strike Force.
Well, what's in the launch bundle?
So it's the Marauders, the
2-player starter,
and the Jets and the 2 flyers.
Oh, cool.
Whoa, Mr. Moneybags over here.
Yeah, it's an amazing deal. It's like $150 for like 2,000-point armies almost. So
wow,
hard not wrong with that. All right.
Okay.
Bye, fellas.
We'll
talk soon.
Adios.